All right, what's up, guys? It's Cooper C&T Designs again for another video of paper cuts.
And the redhead in the back.
Yep, and the redhead in the back handing me
10 points if you can figure out what that is.
parts of guns. She says 10 points if you can figure out what this critter is. Some of you guys will probably know pretty quick. And yes, it's in desperately rough shape. All right, so getting into this. Oop, let me reach down here and pick him up. This bill is 3-day waiting periods. This bill is HR 1752. This was actually introduced March 10th of 2021. Of course, 117th Congress. This is where we're at. Got a ton of co-sponsors on this bill, and of course, guess who they are? Brown, Claiborne, Carlson, Case, Evans, Mr. Green of Texas, who is an absolute moron. Let's see, is Hank Johnson on here just for giggles? Oh, Miss Omar's on here. Pallone, Purcell. I know I'm skipping over. Yep, Mr. Johnson from Georgia's on here. The son that you thought the island of Guam would tip over thinks 3-day waiting periods are going to save the day. If that don't make your head hurt, nothing will. All right, so let's get into this. So this is HR 1752, a bill to provide for a 3-day waiting period before a person can receive a handgun with exceptions. Short title, this act may be cited as choosing our own lives over a Fast Firearms Act. Jesus Christ. And remember, guys, my laptop's dead. I don't have my other notes. So I'm working off my phone and reading this on another laptop. So my reactions to this are pretty well general reactions. They are genuine. This is the way this shit reads. Okay, so Section 2, 3-day waiting period required before receipt of a handgun with exceptions. Paragraph A, transfers between persons who are not firearms licensees. This is Section 22 that has to do with the definitions. Is amended by adding at the end of the file, Section 22, 20. This is on lawful acts, I think. Again, I don't have my notes, guys. Is amended by adding at the following. So again, they're adding in another section of law here. Section AA, except as provided in paragraph 2, it shall be unlawful for a person not licensed under this chapter enter affecting interstate or foreign commerce. How many times have I said that? Enter affecting interstate or foreign, enter affecting interstate or foreign commerce, enter affecting interstate or foreign commerce. I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind.
You had to have one to begin with to lose it.
This is true. And if you guys didn't hear that, my wife said I had to have one to lose it to begin with. I'm not arguing. Shall I get into enter affecting interstate or foreign commerce to receive a handgun from another person not licensed under this chapter unless at least 3 business days, many a day in which state offices are open, have elapsed since the recipient most recently offered to take possession of the handgun. So if I do this on a Friday, I've got, and then that's starting from the date that I said I was going to receive this. So Friday, I would have Saturday, Sunday don't count, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would have 5 days, 4 or 5 days before I could actually get the handgun, the death machine. Let's see, that was Section 8. In paragraph 2, Section 1, shall apply with respect to handgun transfers that meets the condition of subsection T7. And I'm sorry, guys, I don't have that pulled up. That's background checks, and they're going after person-to-person transfers again. They don't want you to be able to sell something like this that is your own property. Again, completely cleared. They don't want you to be able to sell that to another person without having to go through a background check. Transfers by licensees to non-licensees, section 922. This is unlawful. No, yeah, 922 is unlawful acts. In paragraph 1, by striking "and" at the end of subparagraph B1. God, guys, I'm sorry, I don't have my notes on this. By striking the period and inserting "and" at the end of subparagraph C, and by striking at the end of the following. So they're getting rid of this whole thing. In the case of a handgun transfer that does not meet conditions of paragraph 7, 3 business days, meaning day in which state offices have elapsed in the system. By adding at the end the following, a handgun transfer meets the condition of this paragraph if, now this is what they're adding into it. So this is all in parentheses when you look at this bill. So a handgun transfer meets the conditions of this paragraph if A, the transferee is a law enforcement agency. So again, they got their own carve-outs for this shit. Doesn't apply to them. It applies to you. You're the plebe. You're not them. Doesn't apply to a law enforcement agency or any law enforcement officer, armed private security professional, or member of the armed forces to the extent the officer, professional, or member is acting within the course and scope of employment and official duties. In other words, they have to be acting as an agent of the state, then none of this shit applies to them. I told you guys before, every one of these bills, the government has their own carve-outs. They are not going to be under the same rules as you. Here we go with some more. Let's see. Where was I? Okay, so section B of this. And this, to get back to it, you got to remember the handgun transfer meets the conditions of this paragraph if, section B, the transfer is a loan between spouses. Hey, I can loan my wife a gun. Between domestic partners. When me and her were dating, I could loan her a handgun. Between parents and their children, between siblings, between aunts, uncles, and their nieces and nephews, or between grandparents and their grandchildren for lawful purpose. They get to define lawful purpose. Not you. So section C, the transfer is temporary and necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm if the possession by the transferee lasts only as long as eminently necessary to prevent imminent death or great bodily harm. I will give them this. They do a carve-out. What this is talking about is someone who might harm themselves or others with a gun. They give you the gun for you to hold on to. So they do give you that much in this. Now, if I gave a gun to someone because there was a person going to harm them possibly, I don't count under this. So if my friend, say I knew a friend at work and her boyfriend was abusive and he was going to come at her and I loaned her a gun, I wouldn't count underneath this. Not at all. Section D, the transfer is temporary and the transferor has no reason to believe the transferee will use or intends to use the firearm in a crime or is prohibited from possessing firearms under state or federal law, and the transfer takes place and the transferee's possession of the firearm is exclusively, so I could loan a gun to a friend of mine, exclusively at a shooting range or in a shooting gallery. Who says shooting fucking gallery these days? Shooting Gallery New England, I'm sorry, brother, if you watch this, you do that. You're the only one, which is why you stick out with Shooting Gallery. No reason to believe prohibited from possessing, state takes transfer. Okay, so back to this. At a shooting range, shooting gallery, or other area designed for the purpose of target shooting, while unreasonably necessary for the purpose of hunting, trapping, fishing. So I could loan a gun to my friend if he was going hunting. Apparently that's good. Has reason to believe the transferee will comply with all licensing permit requirements for such hunting, trapping, or fishing. So again, they're saying the Second Amendment has some shit to do with hunting, trapping, or fishing, and you can get bent if that is your idea of the Second Amendment. Or while in the presence of the transferor. So I could hand my gun to someone while they're next to me, and that would be legal. But if just the way these things are written, there are so many ways that the government can come at you for something that is completely honest, completely legal. They want to make all that illegal. If I loan a gun to my friend and my friend likes to smoke weed every once in a while, and he gets caught with weed, and I loaned him the gun, and that gun comes back to me, guess who's getting it? Penalties, subsection 924A1B. They're amending this section again. They're by striking or Q and inserting Q and AA. So the Q, I can't remember offhand. Section AA is a section that they just mentioned at the top. So if you're in violation of either one of those, I think you're looking at like a 10-year felony ride for that. Effective date. The amendment made by this section shall apply to conduct engaged in after a 90-day period that begins with the date of enactment of this act. So 90 days after this goes through, if I loan a gun to the wrong person, or I loan a gun to a friend and that friend is caught with some sort of paraphernalia from marijuana or something like that, well, guess what? I get to take a ride. Now, in 924, when they mention penalties, they don't really spell out the time in which you would serve or the actual penalties that would be prescribed under this act. Which is scary because some of that kind of means they could just come up with this shit off the top of their heads. And as I've covered in other bills, they actually recommend to the sentencing board for stricter sentencing when someone does something with a firearm that they don't approve of. So 5-year penalties become 15 years. 10-year penalties become 20 years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, or thousands of dollars of fines become hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. That's their idea behind this. And not a damn thing they're talking about is going to stop someone from walking out of their house with intent to hurt somebody with a firearm. This is all going to hurt legal gun owners. And sheep vote for these people every time. Again, Hank Johnson signed on to this bill. Hank Johnson thought the island of Guam would tip over if we put more Marines on it like it was a fucking bobber floating in the ocean. Yeah, my wife's snap, crackling, and popping over here. Go away, fucking grime monster. So, yeah, that's this bill. 3-day waiting period for a handgun. It was tried before. It's been proven through research it didn't do anything. And then he wants to throw more restrictions over who I can loan something to, who I can't, you name it. All right. So, y'all be cool. I'm out. If I can get through the next one, I will try to get through the next one tonight. Because I've got to catch. Would you quit? You.
I'm done.
All right, she's done. You guys take it easy. Be cool. I'm out. Later.